In a game with suspect coaching, the players were able to step up, get the job done, and get the win.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw. I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for a grading episode, and it's been a minute since we got to do a grading episode. So, quick reminder, we go through the offense, the defense, the coaching, and then an overall average grade. For the offense, which is where we're going to start, quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, offensive line will be what we're grading. Defense, it's the three levels of the field, the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary. And then closing out the show with Kenny Dillingham's performance, Marcus Arroyo's performance, Brian Ward's performance, and then an average from all the grades. But I want to start with where we started this show, and that's that this coaching was pretty flawed, and we'll really dive into detail later on. But it was the players who were able to really step up and deliver the big moments when they mattered the most. I look at the play calling in this game, and it just felt like ASU wasn't trying to put the game away. They weren't playing to win. It felt like they were playing not to lose. And that put them in a very dangerous situation where they did almost lose the football game against BYU. But like I said, the players in this game were able to step up big time. And the offense in particular really did a good job in this game, even though they were pretty quiet in the second half. But again, a lot of play calling went into that. We'll start with Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt, the quarterback position, I'm giving him a B- here. I'm going to give him an 82 out of 100. My logic here is it wasn't a huge day for Sam Leavitt, but it was enough. 16 of 25, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He didn't have to run this game. He didn't have to be front and center for this game. He just had to manage it. I thought he did a very good job managing it. I also thought that his 61-yard bomb to Xavier Guillory was one of the biggest plays of the game, especially because it re-energized the Sun Devils offense after BYU was starting to get a little bit of a groove going. It was an immediate answer back and kind of like we're not giving you any kind of momentum. We are maintaining the momentum in this game. With that said, I do feel like that 61-yard bomb was probably what encapsulated the day for Sam Leavitt in this game. Besides him, Melkon Stovall, 1 catch, 25 yards. Shimon Mater, 2 for 24. Cam Skattebo, 3 for 12. Now, of course, Jordan Tyson was doing Jordan Tyson things, but that's a weekly occurrence. So it's not even that he didn't spread the ball around much, because at this point in time, we're used to Leavitt to Tyson just being the magic in this offense. But I truly feel like a lot of the passing game was simplified, and they really went to the run game. And that's where we're going to pivot next, is the running game, and they get a firm A from me. I'm going to give them a 96 out of 100 here. And I was very tempted to go with a perfect 100 out of 100. And truth be told, I probably could, because Cam Skattebo was doing Cam Skattebo things. The People's running back went wild in this game. One of his best games of the season, if you can believe that, because he's had so many. 28 carries, 147 yards, and a hat trick on the ground. He was dominant. Everything you needed from him, he delivered for you. Kyson Brown had 5 carries. He only had 10 yards, and he had a long of 6, so pretty non-existent in this game. The reason why I didn't give it a perfect grade, and 96 out of 100 is still pretty darn good. The only reason I didn't go that far is I feel like the running game could have put everything away, but it just wasn't able to. And again, a lot of this has to do with coaching, which we're going to touch on at the end of the show, but we'll get there when we get there. 96 out of 100. If you're complaining about a 96 out of 100, I don't know what to tell you. Wide receiver, I'm giving him an A+. I'm going slightly ahead, and I'm going with a 97 out of 100. I'm going bigger here because not only did Jordan Tyson have a big game, 9 catches, 125 yards, including a 54-yard long, with tons of run after catch, with yards after contact. Tyson was the heart and soul of the passing game against BYU. He was a beast. He was a monster. If you needed to play, you went to Tyson, and you were going to get really good results out of him. Then you had Guillory, who stepped up with that 61-yard touchdown. And he was able to get wide open. A lot of the defense was giving their attention to Jordan Tyson, which allowed Guillory to be able to slip past their defense, find a hole, find an opening. Levitt delivers the pass. That's the word I'm looking for. And the rest is history. So with Guillory's touchdown added to what Tyson did, this is where I give them such a high grade. And Stoneball had that 25-yard catch too. So, I mean, you had a lot of really good production from your wide receivers in this game. Of the 247 passing yards that you had, all but 36 of them came from the receivers. So 211 yards came from the receivers, and the yards per catch is just absolutely ridiculous. 97 out of 100. Tight end, C-. I'm going to 70 out of 100. I don't want to go lower, and I certainly can't go higher because Shimon Mateer just wasn't really a factor in this game. 2 catches for 24 yards, including a 15-yard score. Could have been better if Mateer didn't drop a touchdown in the back of the end zone. And I mean, it was a bad drop for a guy that has consistently been able to make plays this year. It was very uncharacteristic of Shimon Mateer. And looking back, you would have loved those points, especially because ASU decided to go for it on fourth down, and they weren't able to get any points. It might change the entire outcome of the game, honestly, if you have that touchdown. Maybe Kenny Dillingham does try to totally put his foot on the gas at the end of the game and go up 3 possessions. I don't know. All I do know is that there just wasn't much done from the tight end position in this game. 70 out of 100, you could go lower. I just don't want to. Offensive line, before we move over to the defense, I'm going an 88 out of 100 here, a rock solid B+. This was a good defense for BYU. They have a defensive end in Tyler Batty who is really good at football, and they got a lot of other players in that front 7 that can swarm around and make life miserable. And yet, ASU's offensive line surrendered 0 sacks. Pretty great. There was pressure. There's pressure in every game from this offensive line because they're not perfect, but this felt like one of their cleaner games in pass protection. And then, obviously, they killed it in the ground game. They averaged over 4 yards per carry. Skattebo gets in the end zone 3 times. It was chunk yards, typical. Like, it's not like Skattebo had 147 yards and a 60-yard long. His long was 23. So chunk yards all day long. They gave Sam Levitt a really nice pocket to be able to sit back, relax, survey the field, do what he needed to do. Offensive line, they just did their job. I'm curious if this game would have been different if let me walk that back. I'm curious if the outcome changes if they're able to convert that final drive that they had. And I really will hang up a lot of that blame on the play calling, which was just all over the place, especially to hopefully put the game away, which you didn't. There might have been some missed blocks, but I also think that Sam Levitt was kind of dancing around. There was also the total miscommunication where Sam Levitt goes to hand it off to the right, Skattebo's running to the left. That's not on the offensive line. I won't blame that on them. I'm simply curious if there was any miscues they could have fixed to be able to put that game away, but I don't feel like that was the offensive line's problem. Looking at the defensive side of the football, this was an interesting game, and it was a very up and down performance. There were some really good, if not elite plays, maybe even historical plays from this defense, but they got beat up a lot during this game, and that's what we're going to explore coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Let me talk to you guys about our friends over at Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets even easier than before to see your favorite teams play live. Gametime Picks is going to filter out the fluff and show you incredible deals on seats. You're not going to have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets because the curation makes it easy to save on not just sports, but you can find great deals on concert, comedy, theater events, and more. You can toggle their all-in pricing feature, and it's going to show you the total up front. There are no surprise fees at checkout this way. You can also get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. That way you know what to expect when you arrive. Of course, they have their lowest price guarantee, which is the best part about Gametime. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less than what Gametime has, they will credit you 110% of the difference. And of course, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Wherever you get your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. As always, I appreciate you guys for making us your first listen of the day. Let's go ahead and get back into our conversation. Moving to the defensive side of the football. It was a fine day. I have seen better performances, and I will tell you that one of these units got saved by a singular play, and I'm sure you can guess what it is, but we will get there in time. Let's start with the defensive line, who I thought had a very good day. B plus 87 out of 100 for me. They were able to snuff out this run game. They only allowed 94 rushing yards on 23 carries. They just did their job. They were able to hold up the front of the defense, make sure that BYU wasn't able to get anything going in the ground game, essentially erased it. Like, I know they had 94 yards, but they had to earn those 94 yards. Nothing came easy. The 2 touchdowns that they had were end arounds to Keelan Marion. Not ideal, but I find it a lot more difficult to pin an end around or a jet sweep on the defensive line compared to like the linebackers or the safeties. As far as I'm concerned, they played a really good game. They played a really clean game, and they had a big play too. You were able to see one of the guys, I think it was Prince Dorba, was able to get their hand up, bat the ball in the air, and it was intercepted by Jordan Crook early in the game. And it was a tone-setting play too, that this defense was here for slugfest. Very, 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 very good day from the defensive line for me. 87 out of 100. Linebacker, slightly better. Still B plus. I'm going 88 out of 100 here. The linebackers had 2 big important plays in this game. First of all, you had that interception from Jordan Crook that we mentioned. Ball was flying up in the air. Crook was able to get under it. Didn't get any return yards. Doesn't matter. He got a turnover that was helping to set the tone. When that ball is fluttering up in the air from a pass breakup, you're not guaranteed to get that bad boy. It's just that much better to capitalize on it and be able to complete the turnover. Keyshawn Elliott had a sack in this game. It was good to see Elliott back on the field, who has been banged up and has missed a handful of games over the last month or so. And with him back on the field, he contributed 6 tackles, 4 solo, 2 assists, plus the sack. Keyshawn Elliott has had a very good year for the Sun Devils. He's been arguably their best linebacker. This game was no different. Caleb McCullough also had a good day. 6 tackles, 4 solo, 2 assisted. He had a tackle in the backfield. McCullough's been a beast, man, and I'm sure a lot of people won't remember Caleb McCullough 10 years from now, but I really hope that right now you are appreciating everything that he's doing. He may not be one of the ASU Hall of Fame players, but this is someone who deserves so much love from the fan base, more than he's getting. Caleb McCullough is a stud. Then we go to the secondary. What do we do with the secondary? This was a weird game for the secondary. We'll start with the good. You had Shamari Simmons playing great football, as per usual, 7 tackles, 5 solo. He was setting the edge. What's new? He's terrific. He's played in the nickel this year, allowing guys like Ghost Rouser and Xavier Valade to patrol deep. And Shamari has just been a godsend, especially with Cole Martin getting injured and not being able to play for most of the year. It's been that much more important that they were able to get Shamari to play the position he's in and to play as well as he has. He was great. Xavier Elford had a good day, 6 tackles, 5 solo. You had a quiet day from Miles Rouser considering what he usually does, only 4 tackles, 2 solo, 2 assisted. It wasn't this huge, massive day from the safety position. They still did a good job. Corners, I thought they were fine. Wasn't anything great. Now, the bummer of this all was that Jake Retzlaff was slinging the ball in the second half. First half, he had some trouble. Second half, he was dealing. And again, as we will soon discuss in very, very big detail with the play calling and all that good stuff from the coaching, I did not like the defense that the secondary was running. There was a lot of zone and a lot of opportunities to hit the outside of the hashes, I should say. And in the middle of the field, Retzlaff carved it up. Like he looked like he was playing college football 25 on freshman mode. Just right down the middle. And he was getting a ton of big completions. Darius Lassiter goes over 100 yards. Chase Roberts has 59 yards. They end up having a lot of guys that made big plays. Hinkley Rapata had a 26-yard catch. JoJo Phillips had a 21-yard touchdown on broken coverage. I don't know if the safety messed up that play or if the corner messed up that play, but someone missed an assignment, and JoJo was playing catch at that point with Retzlaff. Like, this was not a great performance from the secondary. So initially, I was going to give this crew probably a C-, honestly. I don't think I could have justified a B, and I would have been leaning no higher than a 75. However, I gave them an 84 out of 100. The reason why, of course, was Javan Robinson's interception. The play that may have saved the season for Arizona State. Robinson was getting picked on all game. He's young. He's learning the ropes. He's very talented, but there was a lot of opportunity for a veteran quarterback like Retzlaff to go after him, test him, and see if he could find success, and he found a lot of success. Unfortunately for Retzlaff, one of his throws that he was making as they were trying to take the lead in the game, a little too high, was not his best throw. In fact, it fell right onto the lap of Javan Robinson, who proceeds to fly down the field. 64 return yards. I thought he was going to house it. Retzlaff somehow pulled out like a 95 speed out of 99. If he was still playing college football 25, he had 95 speed at that point in time to be able to chase down Javan and prevent him from getting into the end zone to seal the game away. That play alone absolutely saved this grade for the Sun Devils. How could I give them a grade lower than a B when they had that kind of impact? That play by itself saved this grade, saved the game in general from being a loss, potentially saved the season. Javan Robinson, just one of the most important plays of the season, one of the biggest plays of the last handful of years for the Sun Devils. Robinson saves the day, 84 out of 100. We got to talk about the coaching, though, and the coaching I was not super high on. We're going to see in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Guys, let's talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and tackle the NFL action. Right now, new customers, you bet $5. You will get $150 in bonus bets if you win that $5 bet. The best part is FanDuel, they are going to give you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL all in one place. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, if you feel like betting something live, you see a player prop that looks really good, maybe you like the new over-under or team to cover any kind of spread. Well, you can check out the latest stats, view a live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same place where you are placing your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. One last time, thanks for making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. The coaching was not my favorite. This has been a coaching staff that has done very well all year. Kenny Dillingham has been the coach of the year, not just in the Big 12, but in the country. That is my opinion, but I feel like there's a lot of other people who would also agree with me on that. Just is. This was not his best game. 72 out of 100, a C-. It's all about how the game ended. That really affected the grade here for Kenny Dillingham. There was a lot that went wrong to end this game. And there was a lot of controversy to end this game. I know a lot of people were very upset, very offended, very hurt by the comments he made to the referees when it was announced that there was 1 second left of game time. There are people who were saying he should be fined. You are totally valid in feeling that way. More often than not, those guys do end up seeing fines when you behave the way that Kenny did. I stand pat that I don't have a problem with it. He is passionate. He was defending his team. He was defending the fans. And if you look at where he is at that point in time, with thousands of students and fans from the stands that are surrounding him, of course he's going to be sucked into the moment, and he's going to be very passionate and very upset and say the things he did. Not excusing it. You probably shouldn't talk that way, but it's also football. People always talk that way. It is what it is. I totally understand if you are offended, if you are upset, if you are disappointed, if you are angry. Totally understand. I am just not of that opinion. I do not share that opinion. That being said, the play calling by Kenny Dillingham, now that is something that I do not agree with. And I am very much on your side that was poor play calling to end the game. I just don't get the logic that Kenny had. Like, it was, we're going to try and bleed the clock out, and we don't want to score because we don't want BYU to get the football back, and we don't want to risk BYU scoring a touchdown and then getting an onside kick and then scoring another touchdown. There was a minute left, Kenny. You are overthinking it. My guy. Analytics is a huge aspect of sports today, and football uses a lot of analytics. This is the one time where analytics should have been thrown out the window. It just play the game in front of you. This was such an overthought process for Kenny. And it was a bummer because that's not who Kenny is. He's very much a grounded, very, very, very well articulated coach who understands situations and how to approach them. This was not how you approached it. And Kenny did admit on the Monday presser that he has with the media every day, or every Monday, I should say, that it could have been handled better. And I would agree. Bottom line, this was not a well-coached game. I thought the first 3 quarters were pretty solid. Once again, they let off the gas in the second half of the game, and I have an issue with that. You can't do that, especially at this time in the year. 72 out of 100, mainly because of the final minute of game time. just collapsed. Marcus Arroyo, I thought he called a good game. I'm giving him a B+, an 87 out of 100, and that is going to save the grades here for the coaches because, spoiler alert, I did not give Coach Ward a great grade either. But this was a well-coached game from Arroyo. I loved the game script. They were very balanced, but they were also putting a lot of emphasis on getting Cam Skattebo the football. And typically, when he gives Skattebo the football, good things happen. That's why he's the people's running back. He runs it, he catches it, he punts it, he throws it, and he's your mom's favorite player for a reason because he's really good at football. So they did a great job in doing that. I thought that they also were not as conservative as they normally are. I liked that Sam Levitt was pushing the ball down the field. I like that they weren't afraid to take some chances and try and make some big plays in a game where you need big plays in order to win. This was a really good game by Marcus Arroyo. If there was one thing that went right from the coaching in this game, was absolutely everything that Marcus Arroyo had carved up in that game. Brian Ward, I would imagine this is probably the worst grade I've given him this year. It's a flat C, 75 out of 100. They did a lot of things right, and then they kind of crumbled when they needed to. I will say this, because I've said this for a while now, and I'll continue to say it. ASU's defense has not been, but don't break. They just aren't. What this defense is rise up and step up to the occasion, which is what happened. Javan Robinson gets that interception. It should have put the game away. But prior to that, I mean, BYU, they came out of a 28-9 hole and lost by 5 points and were a bad throw away from potentially winning that football game. The defense was not able to get a stop. They made the play when it happened. It wasn't a great thrown ball, but you know what? Some guys dropped that interception. Javan Robinson did not drop it, and that's the bottom line. He made the play. That's all that matters. You had other plays. You had a sack. You had another interception. There were some good plays. The reason why this is so low for me is you nearly lost this football game because of a very conservative approach. I don't know why they're running so much zone right now, especially because it's not working. ASU's secondary is getting picked on right now by young quarterbacks, by veteran quarterbacks, by transfer quarterbacks, by redshirt freshman quarterbacks. They're doing what they want to do right now. And you need to figure out how to switch up your coverages, especially because your pass rush, they're getting pressure, they're not getting home. And if you're not getting sacks, then you need to find a way to really open up the creativity of the coverages that you're doing. It can't just be one zone. It can't just be man-to-man all the time. You need to find some kind of rhythm with how you are shuffling the defense around. And this was not a game that showed that. It was very much not a Brian Ward called game. 75 out of 100. He's not going to do that the rest of the year. I'll knock on wood. I still feel pretty confident. Overall, the average of this game was about a B-. What grade would you guys give to the Sun Devils in this game? Am I being fair when I give Kenny Dillingham a C-? Would you grade him lower? Would you grade him higher? Let me know in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well. Richie Bradshaw 36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. I appreciate each and every single one of you for making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications wherever you are getting your shows. And of course, as always, a special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back very, very soon. I currently do not have a plan for tomorrow's episode. I am doing my best to work on something behind the scenes, but stay tuned. Make sure you turn on notifications, and I will see you then. Until then, though, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.